I welcome you to the debut episode of Sin TV. I am your host, Belajan Quita. Today's guest, I have to say, not only is she brilliant in helping women of color, but she also has broken through the doors for women of color in social media, and her name is Nadia Jones. Nadia Jones is the creator of the amazing website called thenichemommy.com. She has also been featured in Southern Living magazine, known as the new media maven for women of color, and she has worked with brands such as Kimberly Clark as well as GM Chevy. It is my pleasure and privilege to give you the interview that I did with Nadia Jones. And as a side note, this was when I was with Media Fame TV. So if you do hear Media Fame TV, this is a previous interview that has been recorded. Hi, Nadia. How are you? Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I have the first off the bat. I have to tell you, you are gorgeous.
Thank you.
Cause like I saw your photo, I'm like, I'm in. I'm interviewing her. Oh, I gotta look better than her.
Oh, you're so funny.
Yes, but thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Thank you for having me.
Now, how did this whole Niche Mommy network get started?
Well, actually, it got started because in attending a number of conferences myself, I always heard from women of color that they didn't usually attend some of the general market conferences for parents because they didn't really feel that that was, their niche, that they would belong, or that brands there would be interested in connecting with them. So I thought, why not, fill a void where there was a void and not just connect these women together, but of course connect these women in real life at a conference like the Niche Parent.
Yeah, cause like what I notice is like when I look at like Blog World, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean it's one of the largest social media conferences in the U.S. And I look at the listing of who are the big name guests. There were probably maybe two people of color on there.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Blog World loved that conference. I've never been, but I've been wanting to go every single year. And there are other conferences similar to it. They have some work to do with regards to diversity, and I wouldn't necessarily know if it's the fact that maybe, people of diverse backgrounds don't feel like that conference is a good fit for them, or, I'm not sure what it is, but, I think they're great conferences. And my goal here is not just to, exclude anybody, of course, but it's really just to put together a community of diverse parents because we have, a somewhat different story to tell and different issues that we can talk about. And then there's just something about being with people, that are part of your tribe, so to speak.
Right. And I mean, for me, I can completely like understand that because, like, now, having this show on YouTube, one of the hottest topics right now is racism on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of get your 2 cents on it because I mean, if you look at the top 100 most subscribed YouTube lists, there are only two, like, really people of color besides people of Asian descent on the list. So how do you feel about that, those type of issues?
About race being a hot topic right now.
Yeah, because for me, being on like when I'm on YouTube, I'm the one that gets the like tons upon tons of hate comments when in regards to some of my white counterparts or white YouTubers, it's kind of reduced and it's not as much as what I would receive.
Well, I think this country still has a lot of work to do in the race area. I mean, I think there's no question about that. I think it's unfortunate that, that's happening to you and, to other people of color. I think that's why that goes back to my point. That's why it is so important for us to have a community where we can support each other and, grow together and connect together, because that's also another big part of the Niche Parent Network is to not just connect each other to each other, but to connect each other to help support each other. Because, if we support each other, then we can grow together.
Right. And for me, that's where the dichotomy is. It's kind of hard because it's like there are some of my people who do support, and then there are some of my people who it's kind of like that philosophy with the crabs in a bucket. You
Oh yeah,
know,
yeah.
one
Nope. Yeah, that's an issue.
yeah, one
I
is
totally
crawling out, and
understand.
then the other ones, kind of bring you down. But I wanted to know a little bit more, about you personally, and where are you from, and where are you right now? Because your house looks gorgeous.
I'm in my dining room. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm home, and so my background, which is I think part of what makes me so passionate about multiculturalism and diversity, is I was born in Mexico. My mom is Mexican, and my father is from Haiti. But I was raised in the States, so I have this cross-cultural background. I've been in this world and that world, and I have the ability to kind of move from one to the other, and I love it. And my husband is African American, so my kids like to say, my oldest especially, he'll say I'm 1/4 Haitian, 1/4 Mexican, and 50% African American. That's how he kind of puts it in his mind. So it's funny.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that too, because like for me now, I don't like using African American because my mom is from Ghana, my dad is from Liberia, and that's West Africa, and I can be able to trace exactly where I'm from. Whereas when you use the term African American now, depending on the context, there's this negative implication that goes with it. It's kind of like using black. It's this homogenized term that not everybody I feel in the community wants to use.
I totally hear where you're coming from. I know, in the some people from Caribbean backgrounds, they don't like to be coined as or termed African American or put into that category because I mean, you're a different, I guess it's different cultures. Being African American and being, Haitian American, totally different cultures. Personally, I feel like at the end of the day, we all have brown skin. We just have different cultural backgrounds. So it's okay. I mean, I sometimes it's just easier to put it that way, and sometimes it's just easier to say that I'm black. So there's the rise in the term a black Tina for Latinas that are also black, and sometimes that's just the easiest way to describe myself.
Right, because like for me, when I say I'm, Ghanaian, Liberian, American, people think it's some kind of like domestic beer or something, and and so that's why sometimes I'm just like, okay, I'm just African, and then if they ask me where, then then I break down that and explain that. But one thing I do find really interesting too about social media is there's new stuff coming out all the time. So for the viewers out there, what are certain social media that you feel that people should be aware about and they're not too familiar with? 'Cause of course, there's Facebook and there's Twitter and there's YouTube and there's Pinterest and then there of course Foursquare and all those type of things.
Well, I'm trying to think, what are some of my favorite tools right now? I usually, I don't know if I have like any favorite social platforms. I really stick to the Pinterest and the Instagrams and the, Twitter, of course. But I feel like those are, especially Twitter and Facebook, great platforms to share news and to find news. Oftentimes, news is broken on Twitter. As I'm watching CNN, I'm usually always watching my mobile screen to see what people are saying on Twitter that are there on the ground, especially when it comes to international news. Some of my favorite sources, though, to find out like what's new and what's hot is Social Media Examiner, a website. Michael Stelzner, he is awesome. He has a daily podcast, and he is always sharing information, new platforms. One of the things that I like to use now is Click to Tweet. I don't know if you've heard of that, but you can incorporate a Click to Tweet link into any of your blog posts,
Hmm.
and it pre-generates and populates a tweet for people to use. So I love that platform.
Well, you'll have to send me that one because, I mean, I swear, keeping up with the social media thing, and especially for people of color too, where there's kind of this imbalance of technological use. If you go to urban areas, I mean, if you look at kids that go to school in a more suburban area versus sometimes kids that go to school in an urban area, unless that school is being heavily funded, there is this deficiency that occurs. I mean, they may know Facebook and Twitter and all that type of stuff, but when it really comes down to actually using social media professionally, I still feel that there are some people where there's still a gap there.
Oh, there's definitely a gap. I certainly agree with you there. One of the problems, as you said, is funding in schools, so they're using outdated or old technology. So that's certainly a problem. But the good thing is that those of us that do have access to social media, we can use that as a voice to raise awareness about that there are so many schools in this country where not just the books are inadequate, but of course technology is
Yeah.
inadequate. And how important is it for a student who is going to graduate from high school to be tech savvy in this day and age? If you are not tech savvy, then it's going to be very hard for you to find a job. The other thing that we can help raise awareness through social media, of course, is like a lack of healthy food options in a lot of urban areas. They call them food deserts. So there are a lot of things that those of us that do have social access to social media and technology can do to help raise awareness um, to our communities, to what's happening in our communities.
Exactly. And I mean, it needs to. I mean, for me, honestly, that's what got me going online was because I was just like, there are no African people like me online. This is crazy. So, I just started just like learning and understanding marketing and how to present yourself professionally because that's important. It's like, okay, we got enough
Yes,
ratchet
absolutely.
people. So we
Oh,
need to
absolutely.
we need to start doing that. It's like you got to have a balance of professionalism and people who are comical and people who are, I mean, like for me, I kind of consider myself half and half. And I mean, with you, you have stepped it up a notch. I mean, you have the Blogalicious Weekend Conference.
Mhm. Well, I'm no longer active in planning Blogalicious.
Okay.
That was one of my first conferences, but I mean, it did start with Blogalicious. There's no question about it. That was one of the first conferences that brought together women of color in this large space, and it's been successful since day one. But again, that's why it's so important to have these sorts of communities so that we can, collaborate and bring each other together.
hmm
Yeah.
So let's go back to talking about marketing because I think that's where, for a lot of social media events that involve people of color, or that's where that problem is. So, can you explain for people who want to get into marketing or they want to market something like that? What are some tips, some pointers that you could give us?
Well, from a marketing standpoint, I think it's important to understand, of course, the power of the consumer that you are targeting. And Miriam Moulet, who is one of the keynote speakers at the Niche Parent, she has written a book and is an expert on marketing to women and women of color, especially. And according to the research that she has done and all of the statistics out there, when you collaborate the multicultural niche or group of women, the consumer spending power is $1.5 trillion. And
Mm.
that's pretty major. So this is why marketers need to have campaigns that are, reaching out to the multicultural consumer because together we hold 85% of the consumer group, which is pretty amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
I think from a blogging perspective, I think that bloggers need to be aware of how influential they are. There are a lot of statistics out there that show that before anybody makes a purchase, that they are going to be, looking on social media to see what other women or other people have said about a particular product. And it's true that people will be influenced by what bloggers have said about a product or a brand before they make that purchase. So marketers know that, and marketers are, using that to their advantage.
Yeah, especially people of color. Like referral is mandatory. If something really sucks, then it spreads like wildfire. And what other resources are there? Because see, that's where I struggle. Is I'm like, I'm trying to find things about people of color and social
Mhm.
media and those type of issues. So can you give some more examples of those type of resources that are available?
Sure. So I would start with um, Miriam's book, which is the 85% Niche. That's a really good book. And in there, it has all the statistics. And her website, of course, is very informative. And then just, looking on the web and reading what's out there, there are some really great sources on the percentage of use of all the different social media platforms by demographics. So it's broken down from, what percentage of African Americans are using Twitter, Pinterest, Facebook, and how often are they using it.
Hmm.
And then, of course, they break it down, to the Caucasian segment and then, of course, the Latina segment and or the Latino segment. And then you can see there when you know what the behaviors and the patterns are of these different groups using social media and connecting it to making purchases, then you can see how powerful you are. Which brings me to another topic. Like you have a number of bloggers that will do reviews or will work with brands without any sort of payment. And I'm of the school that because your voice is influential, you have to, and you're doing this not just for fun, but this is a way for you to make additional income, then
Right.
you need to leverage not just your voice, but of course the opportunity for you to help a brand in marketing a product. So I don't believe in just, not always the case, but I don't necessarily believe in, writing or working for a brand without any payment.
Right. And that's why I feel they target people of color because for some of us we're not too familiar with the industry. And now for me, learning how the business actually works and, learning that you do deserve and should be compensated for the type of services that are out there. If you get something free to review, that's nice. But you want to start trying to aim more for advertising. And I think that's very hard, especially to do on YouTube because it's just oversaturated.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a balance. There's a number of different ways that you can make income from your blog. Advertising works if you have, a lot of readers daily.
Right.
I'm talking about thousands of readers daily. Review posts, I mean, sometimes, if you're reviewing a great product and they're offering it to you for free, then I would say, okay, why not? Because, like, for example, I need a new camera or I need, I don't mind a trip to this or that. But to review a $5 product, a $10 product, I just don't feel like that's really worth my time to review it. Now, if you want to send it to me and then, just so happens that I'll tweet about it or, I love it, then that's great. But I also, without getting paid, if I love a product, I will write about the product because I write and I see myself as a useful resource to my readers and not just somebody who is writing to promote particular brands or products. But a lot of things that, I'm sorry, different ways in which bloggers can make income is speaking locally or consulting on social media, which is something that I do. We've gotten this far because we've learned how to use, these different tools and platforms. And you can leverage what you have learned to help consult with local businesses on how they can do the same, how can they grow their consumer base. And there's definitely some, good income in consulting on social media.
Yeah, I started looking into that, and then I started looking also into building my expertise to start making appearances because I feel that the more people of color do that, it'll start to balance out. That's why it's like I don't even support. I used to support Blog World, but then when I saw that they were only kind of focusing on really prominent people of color in the industry, I was like, well, that's not fair to people like me and maybe some other. YouTubers and other vloggers out there where our audience, it may not be that big, but I still think there needs to be, and I mean, who knows, maybe I might start a conference because I think that there are smaller niches that need to be recognized besides the mainstream, and there's so many different alternatives. So I once again, that's why I appreciate what you do is because you recognize that there are so many people in this business that are blind by that, and it causes a suppression, and that's why a lot of people of color don't want to do this.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, and thank you.
Hmm.
I think we're going back to what you were saying about finding.
Hello. Hello.
You still there?
Yep.
Oops, I don't see your. Hold on.
Yeah, you got cut. There you go. Technical difficulties.
I don't see your picture though, but can
You
you
don't see
see?
mine? Okay, let me check here. Yeah, because that happens sometimes. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Camera. And
Yep.
there I am. Yay. That's the thing about Skype too. It works sometimes, but then other times uh, it doesn't work for you. But to continue your point, that's for me, that's what once again kind of propelled me into doing it, because I was just like, oh, okay, if Leo Laporte can do this, and all these other guys that have receding hairlines can do this, I don't see, why anybody, cannot do it. So, what?
I
No, go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I just wrote a post about that recently. Like, you've got to envision what you want, and the only person that's telling you no before you get started is you. So go ahead and give it a try. I mean, you just got to try for
Yeah,
sure.
that's all you really have to do. But what other advice would you give to not only women of color out there? There's a lot of men of color that are really trying to do great things, and just kind of like, what do you like? What advice would you give for people who, like me, have that intercultural sense of mind, and I want to pursue this industry?
Um, the first thing I would say is seek a mentor and, really use your mentor and ask them questions, because I've had a couple of people ask me, will you be my mentor? And I'm happy to do it. But then I never, we never really communicate with each other again or on a frequent basis. So definitely seek out a mentor, and then also like do your research in your industry or in your area. And I do that simply by listening to podcasts, as I mentioned. Social Media Examiner, he has great podcasts, because I'm a social media strategist, so I need to know what's hot and what's new, not just in social media, but in social media marketing. That's certainly my niche. But there are podcasts on iTunes and, that are for every niche and audience. And this is somebody who's already done the work for you with regards to putting together the hot topics and the hot news. So if you're at the gym, or if you're going for a walk, or if you're in your car, going for a drive, hop in one of your podcasts and you can learn so much from that.
And do you have any upcoming events or things you would like for people to be aware of?
Sure. So, of course, attending conferences is important, because, like any profession, you want to develop your professional skills. So, the Niche Parent Conference is coming up in 41 days, September 5th through the 7th in Fort Lauderdale Beach, Florida. And we've got a lot of hands-on workshops where we're going to be talking about not just marketing, of course, but blogging and how to grow your brand, grow your audience, SEO. One of the workshops that I'm looking forward to is PicMonkey for bloggers. I love PicMonkey, and there's so many things available on PicMonkey that a lot of people aren't even aware of, that it can really help change the way you use images and graphics on your blog. So that sounds exciting. And of course, we've got fun opportunities. African Pride is going to be there with their brand Dream Kids, and they're going to be doing headshot makeovers and makeup makeovers, so that, because right now in the virtual world, your headshot is a virtual handshake. So it's going to be a great conference, and we're really excited about our speakers this year.
And how can people get in touch with you too to learn more about you and what you do?
Sure. So our website is thenicheparent.com, and on Twitter we are niche mommy, niche parent, and my personal blog is justicejonesy .com, and of course I'm on Twitter at Justice Jonesy.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nadia. I appreciate having you on. You're going to become my mentor because
Oh, of course.
like Jason Derulo, I'm riding solo with this.
Oh, definitely. You have my email, you have my phone number. Reach out. Happy to chat. Let's do it.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Nadia, and enjoy the rest of this wonderful morning.
Thank you. You too. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye. Once again, I'd like to thank Nadia Jones for being on the show. Please check out her website at thenichemommy.com. You can also follow her on Twitter and learn more about the conference at Niche Mommy. Thank you so much for watching the first debut interview of Sin TV. In case for the people who don't know what Sin TV is, it stands for Smart Intelligent News. And that's what I'm hoping to bring. I have a plethora of guests that you do not want to miss out on. And I'm not going to spoil it for you by telling you who's coming up next. You can check out the blog, which is at www.cintvnow.wordpress.com. That's where you'll find this interview and some of my other wonderful interviews. Thank you so much for watching.